Hi everyone, it's Catharine MacIntosh with Listed, and I'm so pleased to be here today with Emiline Layfield. Welcome, Emiline, to our fireside chat.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are with Sotheby's International Realty Canada, a great brokerage. Lovely to have you. And one of our first ever listed agents is from Sotheby's. I'm curious, just to start things off, how did you discover Listed?
I discovered it in a brokerage meeting. We have a lot of collaboration within Sotheby's, and a lot of just best practices tips are shared. And I honestly don't even remember when I first heard about it. It was within my first 6 months of real estate, and I was being inundated with so much technology, so many different rules and regulations, different legal things I was learning about the industry, that I just wanted something simple and concise. And I learned about it back then. It was called .love at the time.
Yeah.
And I just kept it at the back of my mind. And, kind of just being new to the industry, you also have fresh eyes too. And I did come from tech. Tech and finance was where I was working previously.
Nice.
And a lot of my friends in that space were really interested in, okay, what's the latest app? How am I going to get the best access to data? How am I going to find my home? How am I going to sell my home? I was looking for something that was really easy to use and maybe not kind of the standard, what the TREB backend was for clients, which was comprehensive, but maybe not the best UI or UX. I learned about .love. I kind of kept it in my back pocket. And then when I moved back to the city last year, because I moved around a little bit.
Yeah.
When I moved back, I really committed to using that. And because I found that it's still, so that was about 4 years ago, I want to say.
Wow.
I think it was 2019.
You were just one of the first people to ever discover it.
Yeah. So it stood the test of time. I came back to the city after a few years up north working Muskoka, Greenmore, Collingwood, and it was just still the most kind of the easiest to use and the most just it's the information that you need and not more. I picked it back up again and have been sharing it with clients fairly consistently over the last year and just getting really good feedback.
Amazing. Do they bring it up with you about how they like it, or do you?
Yeah. I mean, I ask everybody what the best way how they like to be communicated with and what they're finding is the most easiest to use, because I have clients of all ages and different kind of, relationships with technology. And some prefer to get information via email. But a majority like to have it at their fingertips and be able to search things on their own. And really, everybody just wants accurate information and to be able to, and that's our kind of goal as agents, is just to help educate our clients with, accurate information.
And instantly.
Yeah. And so many times you're out on showings and you've done all of your research on that product. But no matter what, there's always going to be more questions that you haven't really prepared for. So being able to pull up information on, that building across the street, what recently sold in that. What I love about Listed too is you can just you get to open the app. It's not 3-step authentication. It's secure, but it's, when you're on the go, it's really helpful having that component, and clients really appreciate that too. They don't want to remember logins. It's not their line of work. They don't want to remember all these different logins and stuff. So that makes it really great as well.
Yeah, great. It's good to be super secure, but super convenient, because it's time and money, and being notified about something and the timing of knowing about something versus finding it out later can make all the difference in doing a deal.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you have any great stories or ways that your work has been impacted by technology or having this convenience?
Yeah, I would say one of the kind of main things that comes to mind is how one of the other kind of popularized apps, it offers a estimated value
Right.
Component, and that became really a hot topic and something to really overcome, a really big hurdle in a lot of negotiations, because since I've started real estate in the last 4 years, it's always been a changing market. Like there's just everything we're either in a transition market or it's stable for a few months, but it's always shifting. There's always something new going on, and having an estimated value is a nice idea, but it's never been accurate, and it's actually lost one client in particular, a home that they really wanted, because they thought they saw the estimated value.
Yeah.
It didn't match the comps that we'd prepared, which looked at more accurate, relevant, recent information. I don't know if the estimated value just focused on a smaller pocket, or it was hard to say. And they weren't comfortable offering within their budget the number that we encouraged. And so they ended up losing it for $50,000 just because they were worried about overpaying, which obviously we don't want them to do either. But we were kind of fighting with the app over the proper education for what made the most sense for them. So
Misinformation's a dangerous thing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's great if the value was correct,
Mm-hmm.
but especially in a leading or lagging market, it's always changing. And the indicators in most estimates aren't taking items like months of inventory and supply and interest rates into effect. They are
Exactly.
literally taking things like the listing price, which we know has nothing to do with the actual price of the home except as a strategy by the listing agent, which is then something that needs to be interpreted by the buyer.
It needs to be
agent.
interpreted. I think there's a lot of data in real estate that can't necessarily be quantified. Like, take the size of a lot. It depends if it's a corner lot or not. That gets weighed into value. So I really like how listed is. It just shares it. Like, clients love being able to see all of the historical data.
Yeah.
It's so easy to pull up the sales history and the current list price, nothing more. No, projections. There is a fun feature that you can, guess the price, which
Yeah.
if you want to have that connection with your client, that's interesting, but it's.
That came up because people were walking down the street and wanted to guess the price. And at this time, like you bring up, the estimate was so incorrect. And agents were talking about, sellers having misaligned hopes and buyers missing out on properties because of misinformation due to the estimate. So we thought, how could we make education fun and a conversation with your realtor about what the real value is less stressful and kind of help them learn, like if your couple had known that for that $50,000 they could have this dream home, that would have been so much easier. And it's just challenging. So we're always trying to give the most rich data, but accuracy, reliability, it coming directly from the original sources of truth, who we support. So we believe the MLS is a layer that needs our support because you support your clients when all of organized real estate is working really well. Some of these other apps, it's hard for consumers because they don't actually get the same level of representation that, say, your clients get when you're part of Sotheby's and you're part of how you even learned about listed to begin with in a in-person meeting, collaborating and helping each other.
Yeah, and that's why I got into real estate. Like I love being in sales. I'm very, people orient, like I'm very social. But that's kind of what drew me to real estate was just how social of a business it is.
Yeah.
But so much of it is relationship building and working together and collaborating. So that's where I love listed because it does prioritize those relationships. It's not kind of some of the other apps will try and kind of cut you off from, I find, or cut the consumers off from who the listing agent is. I mean, obviously Listed connects you with your agent,
which is who you should be connected with as
who's working with you, who knows what you're
consumer.
looking for.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's important, and what I like about Listed is that it keeps the kind of appropriate channels open, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it
you
helps
reach your
facilitate.
client. Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah,
please.
it helps facilitate those conversations that are so necessary to get a deal done, like the negotiation that comes from that.
Because you reach the agent and your clients reach you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think that's so key. We made it as a connection tool. So it's interesting that you love technology, and any good technology, like for us, was about something that would amplify and deepen the relationship between you and your clients and help consumers to be able to get the support they need in this biggest purchase of their life.
Yeah, and it's really about educating, and so I love that it gives all of the information. We're not keeping anything from, like, it's just giving our clients access to all the information on a listing at their fingertips, which can really help them kind of navigate what buildings they want to be in and what parts of the city, and just further the conversation that we have with them around the same kind of things. Yeah, in fact, so I actually helped a friend of mine move to the city from up north, and she's an agent herself, and we use the Listed app together. So
your Listed app.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah, so she wasn't super familiar with obviously the condo market and navigating leasing in the city. Very accomplished realtor up north, young, very familiar with technology. And that was a really good experiment for me because she knows how it works typically. And we're really good friends. So we call each other, we talk a lot. Our communication lines are fairly open. And the Listed app still came in handy and was able to streamline that process. So we had that platform to share what her favorites were. And it allowed me to do my job better, and it allowed her to really narrow down what she liked, because it was just so, organized.
It's really interesting because I think it's easy to take for granted how much unspoken learning and knowledge there is when you're looking for something, how long you look at it, what you look at, how long you spend in it. These are all kind of subconscious things, even when you like something and then you forget about it, but then you get an alert that the price changed or it's sold. Your clients almost become mini experts, and then your own conversation's elevated. Is that part of what you're finding in the saving of time? Is that it's easier?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I also use the app just to keep an eye on different neighborhoods. So it's not just helping educate my clients and helping bring this data to them in a really streamlined and easy to use way, but it's also helping me stay informed because Toronto is so diverse. Every pocket is different. Everyone asks you what's going on in the market, and it's so helpful to have those real-time updates of when something's been suspended or if they've terminated it and they're bringing it back out at a new price. Just getting that alert to my phone, it helps me then pick up my phone and call the client that's looking in that neighborhood right away.
Nice,
Yeah.
Nice. Have you ever got a property sent from a client that maybe was outside of an area that you were familiar with and quickly looked it up, saw it on the map, filtered it, and got a real sense of the timing of the neighborhood and if it's quickly turning over or slow and the value?
Yeah, definitely. Because I worked up north for a couple of years, I was in Muskoka and then Creemore area in Collingwood. I still work with a number of clients up there, and it's still so important to maintain relationships with agents that work predominantly in those markets. But what this app has allowed me to do is see whose listings are coming up and figure out who to call for more information. And And, also to provide connections where needed with clients that are, maybe outside of the areas that I've got that I have familiarity with. So yeah, it's great for that.
Wow, so it's actually helping your clients through collaboration with other agents and being able to extend yourself through the relationships you have with your colleagues?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. So I love that you got into real estate 4 years ago?
I think, yeah. Yep, 4 years ago, 2019.
Wow. So, okay, you've had listed from the beginning, even through its evolution.
Yeah.
You mentioned that we changed the name. What did you think of the name change?
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like .love. I like listed. Yeah.
So you've been in real estate through a consistently changing market.
Yes.
How do you find when the market's changing, whether it's like going up or going down, how does that change how you work with clients or what they need from you?
Yeah, I mean, there's like every step of the way or I guess to do my job well, I'm constantly educating myself and constantly helping to educate clients. So really the most important thing is being able to get access to information as quickly and conveniently as possible.
Yeah. And with less inventory, it can be extremely challenging to make sure that you're up on everything and you see what's coming out. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't understand when they find other apps that they're from other brokerages, so in some ways they're contained and listed because it's a third-party application made for realtors and MLSs and brokerages to use. We have an exclusive network on Listed, which gives agents from different brokerages access to any off-market listings to provide their clients. And I'm not sure that all the agents know and understand that you've got all this extra inventory as a possibility to be sure that in a inventory tight market, you are, from a seller perspective, giving everyone all the options, and from a buyer perspective, making sure they have all the options. There are a lot of splinter groups and a lot of kind of places where agents can go to find out about exclusive listings. And we originally got feedback from a number of top brokerages that there was a real need for this kind of external brokerage to brokerage exclusive listing network. And throughout the year and a half that we made the exclusive network on Listed, the law changed. It was one way, then it was another way, and now it's coming. Now finally in January, there's a new law coming in that we can all adjust to and prepare for, which we're thrilled about because we believe all listings should go to the MLS. But some very smart realtors before the exclusive network on Listed came out got on WhatsApp groups and Signal chat groups. Have you discovered any of those or participated in them, and what's been your experience being on these other exclusive networks?
Yeah, I remember when Broker Bay, which we use, had access, had that option, and it was useful being able to search. That's not a technology that exists anymore.
Yeah.
And so I am a participant of the Signal groups and the WhatsApp groups, and they're great. It's so great to have a place to be able to share this to a broader network. And I know the laws are changing a lot around that. Thank you, Tressa, and everything going on behind the scenes. But yeah, it is really important, everything you said. And what I like about the feature in Listed is you can search them and you can keep your eye on exclusive in certain networks and be notified specifically about those and organize it in a way. Whereas on some of the other text groups that I'm on, if I don't open the app for a day, I am inundated with 40 to 100 new notifications, and you have to sift through them each yourself, which is exciting. It's a little bit like a treasure hunt for your clients, but it's definitely not the most effective way to be informed of, that one hidden gem property that you're looking for them, that's going to, check their boxes, and, that's flying a little bit below the radar. So it feels like it's a little bit disorganized. It feels a little bit like it can be a huge, you can be really excited and you can have your eyes wide open for it, but it's easier to miss if you just happen to have a really busy phone that one day, or, or a whole bunch of people will post about something at the same time, and then that one property might get lost a little bit. Like there's nowhere to go and then search through and properly filter for what you're looking for.
So you get notifications about everything or nothing. So you keep it on everything so you don't miss anything.
And it's not like, the apps, it's just, it's kind of a free flow. People will put a little blurb into the app. There's no kind of standard format that people will upload the information on. So you're really, you're using a lot of brain power to just sift through what people are listing, what they're talking about, to see if that's what you're looking for, versus being able to see a photo, maybe being able to, clearly read what they're advertising, how many bedrooms, baths, the neighborhood, size of the lot.
That makes a lot of sense. Actually, when we developed the exclusive network, we based it on the current MLS real estate data schema so that it would match. And we made it extensible so that as the law changes, we're all ready to change with it. And I know that on these other groups, essentially posting will become illegal under TRESA. What's going to happen? How do you feel? Will you still post on these groups, or will you just exclusively, no pun intended, go unlisted and see what's there, or look for other alternatives? What do you think is going to happen in January?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's so hard to keep up with all of the different rule changes. But I do think that everyone's going to be looking for a better way to advertise and to communicate about exclusive listings. I'm not an expert on the topic.
I do love, though, that you're part of it, and you're part of a number. You're not part of just one. I think that is another indicator that when groups are fragmented, you have to be keeping up with different apps and different groups. And the other very important thing to me, anyway, is that if you get an exclusive listing, let's be honest, in Toronto, it's probably a 2 million plus listing, perhaps. And you have a fiduciary responsibility to your sellers. And everything unlisted is covered by a service license agreement that ensures that their private data remains their private data, how it's governed, they and through the brokerage own it and are responsible for it. Listed doesn't own any of it. So everything is taken into account from a safety and responsibility perspective. And I think when you have a free third-party foreign app that your colleague, who may not even want to be managing it, is managing for you. Like, I never thought I'd see a day when you would get your competing broker to manage on a free app from another country $8 million listings. Like, if the seller knew that that's posted on a chat group, which some of them now have upwards of 1,000 people, I mean, I think some of them, the name is like not even in it, right? It's like G, or like the initials. So it's kind of challenging, and I'm excited for people to embrace the exclusive network on listed as a solution and be open-minded, because when we first brought it out, the brokerages we worked with, which is another good point, that they have jurisdiction over it, whereas when you're on these other groups, the brokerage is not involved. There's a real disconnect there, and the brokerage really owns the listing. So I think there's a real security to know that, back to what you said about proper order, every like your client is being protected by the agent, the broker. And something really exciting, we talked to the MLS not here, but when I was in San Diego, about to have the MLS remain the source of truth, have this two-way data. So imagine if your own MLS could let you know, like if Trev could say, 17% of the market in this area was represented by off-market listings, and another 13% of those went to MLS and successfully sold. It's just data that I believe organized real estate should have at their fingertips.
Definitely.
Well, I know that you are always one to be getting your clients immediate information, reaching out to them, using technology for their benefit. Like from the very beginning, you were looking at how can I utilize tools and services that are helping my clients. And I think that's also indicative of the brokerage you joined. It's a full service brokerage. You're supported by your colleagues. I feel like that really benefits your clients. Do they know that? Do they know how lucky they are to have you and that you're with a full service brokerage and what that means?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it goes both ways. Like being able to help clients get access to the information that they need in order to make the best decisions just makes for a better transaction, a better real estate experience for everybody.
The other thing that I really like with you is, like you said, with your friend who is a realtor and who came here and was looking for a rental. One of our goals is that transactions or deals are events that happen between you and your clients. But the collaboration that you mentioned enlisted with them is really indicative of staying connected to them throughout their life. So have you yet seen any clients who maybe started looking for one thing or then either bought a second property or wanted to sell their condo to move into a home? Or are you feeling that connection throughout their entire life cycle of real estate?
Definitely. I mean, something about the app that I love is you can switch gears really quickly. Like I have a lot of clients that were looking for leases and rentals that are now looking to buy, and we've stayed connected. And through what they've liked and what they've bookmarked previously, it's kind of easy to then transition the search and keep the conversation going. And it's just a slightly different process.
It's great too, because then in another 3 or 4 years, you're going to be selling the condo they buy so that they can move up into a house. And this is really good because I think that is really how someone gets into the market, especially in a city like Toronto where costs are so high.
Well, and it's nice, obviously with real estate, I meet a lot of clients in person, and it's really about that fit, that just, you can connect in person and build that relationship through open houses, through showings, through, sitting down and answering their questions, but being able to provide them with a tool that's then useful even after the transaction's taken place has been really nice. So I've noticed a lot of people that I've shared the app with are continuing to use it, whether or not they've purchased and they're not going to make moves for a few years. It's nice because I feel like it's just an added value. They can share it with family members. It's something that's not going to, send them, it's not going to clog up an inbox or send them a lot of ads or try to do anything other than just remain helpful,
relevant,
and keeping us connected.
Nice.
Yeah, which is what we all try to do with our clients anyway, through our own newsletters and phone calls and market updates and stuff like that. So it's nice to have something that's working with us on that.
Precisely, because when they're interested in something, and that's a good opportunity to discuss what they're interested in with them, as opposed to when you send out a newsletter, they may or may not be interested in it. But we were really hoping it would be a conversation through the market that brings you together to keep you constantly connected.
Definitely.
That's great. Well, are there any okay, you know when you go to a party or you're out, everybody is always asking, oh, the minute they find you're in real estate, how's the market? What's going on? How do you find that question? How do you answer it? And do you love it? Or what's your take? What's your take on that?
How's the market? It's a question that I like to ask back to them. You know, I like to understand why they're asking, what they've been hearing, what part of the market they're most interested in. The market's kind of just like, I don't know, weather in Canada. It's niche in all sorts of different pockets, and there's never really one size fits all answer. No one really likes any of the answers you can give anyway. I think people are just curious. They want to know what you've been experiencing. Everybody has their own relationship with their home, with their neighborhood. So it's a really great conversation starter, so long as a realtor, you don't feel like you need to have a one-size-fits-all answer.
I actually love your answer. It's so indicative of great service and how fortunate your clients must be, because you're answering it with wanting to know what they need, right? You immediately went there. I think that's so great. Actually, I want to say your link to the app is below. So if you don't have a great agent, Emiline is amazing. This is so good. When you're sharing it or your clients are sharing it with other people, it's going to have a network effect. Have you gone in and utilized any of the features that really help you personalize it? For example, you can go to any listing and leave a note for your clients. Have you discovered that yet?
I'm still exploring that feature, and I think because it is a newer app and clients are maybe a little bit app overloaded, I'm noticing that I'm having to, you know, slowly educate them on it and walk them through how to use it, but they pick it up so quickly. And I think it's also, some of the feedback has been that they don't understand, or they didn't expect something this easy to use, that they'd have this like level of information on. So I'm still just kind of at the stage where I'm integrating it into my business, and so far all of the feedback has been really positive. And I think I'll start to see, like, I've noticed a couple clients have then shared it with their parents, who are maybe looking to make some moves in the next few years too. So I think I'm going to start to see it growing a little bit more from the back end.
Absolutely. And to be connected to people who are your current clients, sharing it with their parents, who may then be selling their home and looking to perhaps purchase in an area that you're expert in, right? They may want to leave the city and actually go north. You're going to have everybody covered in that way, because you are connected to two boards in particular, and the one board you're connected to, Lakelands, is part of a regional 22 board system. So any client that has you is also connected to a lot of information that otherwise they might not get.
Definitely. And so many people in Toronto have properties in Muskoka or in Creemore, Collingwood area, and often are asking about all three, you know, and to be able to look up that information on their own and then bring that back to me with specific questions, it just creates a more robust conversation about all the kind of micro markets around Ontario.
Precisely. And then you're here, you're established, you're doing a great business here. So that makes it easy for you to not only answer your clients' questions about the Muskoka area, but then connect them to an agent in that area. And you don't have time in your busy career here to be driving there. You're happy to refer. That's what I love about agents who are on listed and part of it. They share business, they work with their colleagues. That's a lot of what they appreciate about listed, is that agent to agent collaboration and connection, as well as client to agent connection.
Absolutely. And that's been a huge part of my business. And one of the allures of working with Sotheby's, like, we have such a collaborative inter-office relationship and between colleagues. And what listed can offer is, you know, each agent in their own area is very, very busy, and we do our best to keep each other up to date when working with referrals. Being able to also take a look at the market and then have more educated conversations with each other is conducive to, more time saving and just better conversations and education too.
Yeah, I really love Sotheby's. Diane Escher is one of my favorite people because I come from a design and technology background, and when I saw this problem in the environment, which for me started with seeing a house and realizing I can't learn anything about it and I have no one to help me, and I wanted to push a magic button. So every time you do the location button, that came from me having a problem with not being able to get real estate data quickly and easily. And then realizing that, wow, neither did realtors. So putting my design hat on and making something for that. And in order to actually figure out that second component that, wow, realtors don't either, I put on my anthropology hat and got into real estate so I could understand it. And you can't do anything in real estate if you're not a registrant. So talk about committed, right? I don't sell real estate, but I got involved. Anyway, long story short, Diane Escher was one of the first women that I really looked to in organized real estate. She was the broker of record at the time at Johnson & Daniel, and a really great agent, Kim Miles, who's now with Sotheby's as well, was then with J&D, and spoke so highly of Diane, and I got to meet her, and then I've met her over the years. She's always participating at conferences and so involved internationally and with all the offices. And then Sotheby's, again, is one of the only brokerages that has a technology officer, right? Rob Love, he's so great, and he's looking at how they can utilize current technologies to help you as agents on the ground in your day-to-day business work with clients and each other. So I love hearing that. It's my experience of Sotheby's, and I love it. And they're across Canada, so they're like listed. I mean, you could connect with colleagues across the country. Have you had anyone move from Ontario yet to somewhere else, or come from somewhere else looking to buy or sell here?
Yeah, I think that's been that's what drew me to Sotheby's to begin with. I love that they are a true international brokerage. I've helped friends who have moved to London, England. I've helped connect people with not necessarily real estate in this case, but the right lawyer in moving to the Canary Islands.
Wow.
A friend of mine from boarding school. From Toronto out west, I've connected with agents out there to San Diego. There's just such a great international collaboration within the office of Sotheby's and across Canada and internationally. And it's always interesting how everybody chooses to communicate, and real estate's so fast paced. Even with my clients, like it's usually text, and it's usually phone calls and text, obviously some emails too, but it's not what I experienced previously in the Monday to Friday jobs that I had, where you take a little bit more time sitting down and writing a more formal email. It's very fast paced, and so having access to information quickly, being able to send listings to each other very quickly, and to communicate what our clients are looking for, how they can help them best. It's so important for that to just be streamlined.
Where do you see yourself in the next few years?
I love real estate. I moved back to Toronto during kind of an interesting market, and this year's been really interesting too. So I've really loved reconnecting with clients, reacquainting myself with all of the, everything that Toronto has to offer. And I'm also studying building biology and environmental consulting so that I can add that to my offering for my clients. I lived in a unhealthy building up north for 6 months that led me to understand the importance of, our our indoor environments and the air
Yeah.
quality and water quality. So I'm really looking forward to also being able to add that to conversations with clients when looking at homes. And so much of our job also has to do with the before and after of sales, you know, getting a home ready for market, but then also when a client is moving in and looking at renovating or updating the home, being able to equip them with the best trades and, you know, service providers to help them make their home the most livable environment. So really looking forward to being able to provide more value in that area, and really just growing again, like building my business back up. You know, because of the pandemic, when I moved up north, I really was focusing up there. So being back in Toronto and working with clients across Toronto has been really, really nice.
Well, I love it. So I just want to reiterate, because I'm always excited when I know that any consumer who maybe doesn't have an agent could download Listed and get one of the agents on Listed. So that's why our goal is only ever the top 20% of agents are actually of the agents who, if you didn't have an agent, you'd get referred. And you're one of those, which is great. And that was really important to me, because it really matters in your success who you have working on your side and that they care about you. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, already you joined a great brokerage, so you were doing what was good for your clients there. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing that whenever something comes up generally about the market, your first thought is to ask your clients what is of interest and value to them, because it could even be a poor time to sell, but they need to sell, so it becomes a great time, and then you're going to see the silver lining and be able to maximize their return with that in mind. Mm-hmm. Like you pointed out, it's niche. And then to take and educate yourself on what I think you've identified rightly as the most important things coming up for humanity, right? Our air quality, our water quality, and with the areas you serve, surrounded by water, you know, living in buildings that are often closed building envelopes, understanding mm-hmm. indoor air quality mm-hmm. and LEED certification is really important. So I wanted to ask you what your secret sauce is, or what makes you an amazing agent for your clients. But I'm realizing by asking the question, there's so many things that already make you a great agent. What can you add to that that I don't even know about? This is amazing.
Thank you. That's very sweet. I love doing a really good job, and I love helping clients. I really enjoy meeting people and getting to know what they're looking for, and I think that's really the most important thing in your realtor, is just somebody who is going to have your best interests at heart and communicate really well and effectively, and just empower you to be making the best decisions for whatever your goals are, whether it's leasing, buying, selling. So yeah, and I do think that health is really important too in our homes. So that's something that I'm working towards being able to really support clients with, and being a part of a robust brokerage that offers so much continued education, collaboration. So much of a successful real estate transaction are the real relationships that you make. Not only just knowing what's coming to market and being the first one in, you know, there's so many opportunities I've had with clients, getting them into preview a property before it comes to market, mm-hmm. just because of that camaraderie and that relationships, and that, you know, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into working one-on-one with clients, but there's so much behind the scenes of, you know, growing your network so that an agent will call you up when they have a listing and say, hey, I know you'd mentioned your client was looking for something under $1 million with a little bit of acreage, or, you know, in this building with this exposure, this loft building downtown. And I just wanted to let you know before I bring it to market next week, or I'm getting photos done. Do you want to come see it? So I think having a realtor that can put more time and energy into doing that kind of thing, that's where technology really is there to support and And technology, it's not going anywhere. We're just becoming a more, I remember when the pandemic hit and I was thinking, are we going to be like just doing virtual showings from now on? Like that was a conversation people were having. So I'm glad that that's not the case.
Yeah.
But I'm also really glad that there are more and more apps that are here to, make the process, because you can work with a client for,
Years.
2 weeks. You can work with a client for years before they make, the purchase that they've been wanting to make, or before they decide it's the right time to sell. And there's a lot of back and forth during that time. So having it documented, having it in one place, easily referred, like somewhere where it's easy to refer to, is really nice. And so far, that's kind of been one of the most important things in my business is that communication piece.
Well, you so nicely identified the importance of the relationship with your colleagues, whether you're at the offer table or they're telling you about a property that they have coming. And then I love how you see technology as augmenting that relationship. You just described exactly what's happening in January for Listed through the exclusive network to support agents. Mm-hmm. Basically, if you had circled lease side and your clients were looking there, listing agents who then through technology understand that certain agents are looking for and have clients interested in that area, mm-hmm. can choose to then do what you were just saying that they would do, is think of you, call you up, mm-hmm. but they don't have to just think of you, they can think of you and know that you're interested and have clients, so it becomes very efficient. Mm-hmm. And they can engage in a direct one-to-one conversation about opportunities for their seller and your buyer, or the other way around. Mm. So I think it's going to be really great, and it's something you're already doing. Mm-hmm. And I actually think it's a great change, because instead of it the way it is now, where you could just search off-market and on-market listings, by having it be a direct one-to-one communication and by having technology support that, just imagine now when you have that really special client that for some private reason absolutely cannot go to market and can't have certain people know about their listing and has to qualify who sees it or knows about it. Mm-hmm. They could have everybody let them know who's interested, but then they can choose who to bring the opportunity to. Mm-hmm. So it's really going to be the absolute maximum service that an agent could provide if they have to go with an exclusive listing.
Yeah, and I can see that having a positive impact on timelines as well, because you'll see something that's exclusive sitting on the market, and there's a lot of marketing dollars that go into, maybe the photography or the staging, and whatever marketing that seller with the privacy concerns or whatnot is, has in place. And oftentimes I've seen the data where it will sell for the list price, but maybe a year later or a year and a half later, and maybe that's just when the buyers come along, but it might also have been when they've discovered it.
It's true.
And so being able to, to maybe shorten that time period for both parties. Maybe the buyer had to rent for that year and a half without realizing that there was actually something perfect for them on the market.
Yeah.
So I could see that as being a wonderful plus of having those exclusive listings more accessible and more documented.
Yeah, on the one hand, more private because the selling agent can choose to tell you about it, but on the one hand, more accessible because, like you said, if it was sitting there for 8 months and all of a sudden you create a saved search and you have clients that are interested in exclusives, that person can immediately reach you and you can immediately tell your clients, and a deal can happen right away. Exactly.
Instead of having to sift through a text group and, maybe your agent or their agent just, maybe they don't know about the text group or
missed it in their 48 notifications.
Exactly. Yeah.
One of your colleagues, Richard Silver, who is one of the first people who was on Listed, said the other day that one of the things he appreciates is that because the cadence and rhythm of looking at properties and being connected to your clients is so easy, it almost shortens the cycle. Like he's now seeing that they'll talk and look at properties and flip them back and forth, but then when they go see something, it could be, we go see these three and they buy one of them because you're actually starting to get familiar with what everybody wants. And often the buyers themselves don't know exactly what they want, and they discover it as they look at different listings and then go to different pockets of the city. That seems to me to be a big benefit.
Absolutely. And it saves them a lot of time too. Knowing what you're looking at and being able, like so many times, especially with list prices, it can be very misleading and very frustrating for buyers due to just different marketing strategies, due to shifting markets, due to sellers obviously having different expectations. So being able to educate oneself before going to see a property, say that maybe it's a freehold home in central Toronto that's going to have an offer date even in this market, being able to know what to expect and to see what's been happening in the area themselves and keep an eye on that themselves will definitely prevent, hard feelings if it does go in offers and that wasn't what they, previously would have anticipated. But it also, it helps narrow down how many properties they need to see.
You just know, you get a better sense. Yeah, I really, I love that you brought that part up, just about how convenient it is, because your understanding of what you want and they want grows, and then you just feel more connected. And there's a lot to be said for just understanding it's going to go over price and we're happy we didn't bid on that one. Yeah, time is valuable, time and attention.
Yeah, definitely. And it allows us to see more appropriate, more aligned properties.
Yeah, so you're able to present what they want and get, exactly, have a better match from the beginning.
Exactly. And which kind of opens up, it opens up their if you're looking at more aligned properties, then you're going to see a wider variety of opportunities too as well.
Yeah, exactly, because you're not being disappointed by getting excited and then it goes over your range, or
which can take a lot of time and energy.
and actually turn them right off the market, right? Because it's stressful, because each time they're thinking about the check and they're thinking about what they're going to do and thinking about living there. So aligning them to what's right for them just seems like it's physically, mentally, and emotionally more balanced.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, I just have two quick questions left that I really love to ask you. I'm so impressed with your determination of quality and value. So you pay for listed, which is great, because then, you're providing it to your clients. They're in a safe environment. You didn't even balk at that. You chose to pay for listed, which we love because that supports us and allows us to provide it. What is the cost versus the value to you? Could you live without listed?
I think with how much information and education and research goes into this job, the last thing that I would ever want to do is take a step backwards in convenience in a streamlined kind of work setup. So to me, because that was the app, and I've explored a lot of them, and because this was the app that I just chose, that it came naturally to me and that clients like using, and also with the communication and the support from yourself on the back end, it was kind of a no-brainer. It is, not an inexpensive investment. And I think very carefully before I make those investments, and because it can really add up when you're self-employed and when you're working in real estate. But having a system that was reliable and that's really the most important piece. That's reliable and consistent was kind of a no-brainer for me.
Great. And I mean, our goal is that it keeps you connected to your clients. So if even one more client is able to meet an opportunity that you can provide them, we're happy. So that's great. And even one small deal would provide for listed for a decade. So you're good. Emiline, I'm so pleased that we got to have you here today at the Fireside Chat. Thank you so much for coming. It's been an enlightening conversation, and you have very fortunate clients to be working with you.
Thank you so much. It's been so nice connecting with you and working with you over the last few years with any questions I have about the app. It's been so refreshing how interested you are in feedback and hearing about ways to make it even better and how clients could appreciate it even more. So yeah, it's been great to be a part of this conversation.
Oh, thank you. I can't get enough of the feedback. I love constantly making things better. Thank you.
Thanks.